It's time now for Mental Health Matters with your host, Lisa Reimer. Mental Health Matters is graciously underwritten by New Vision Eye Center, world-class eye care on the Treasure Coast. New Horizons thanks Dr. Paul Minotti, Dr. Stephen Tate, Dr. Robert Reinauer, and Dr. David O'Brien. Now, here's Lisa Reimer.
Welcome to today's edition of Mental Health Matters. Ann Lotierzo sitting in today for Lisa Reimer. And today we will be joined with Arlin Villari, who is currently overseeing the Mental Health Court program for St. Lucie County, one of the many programs of New Horizons. Welcome to the show, Arlin.
Thank you, Ann, for having me.
Arlin, you've been with New Horizons for a number of years, but recently became the manager of the St. Lucie County Mental Health Court program. So for our viewers and listeners, tell us what is Mental Health Court?
Well, Mental Health Court was created in 2006. It was to help those who are diagnosed with a severe mental illness, who also happen to have a charge of misdemeanor or felony. They come into the court and we help to promote them for have more services, an increase in services for mental health and for substance abuse. We also try to get other things in place for them. Overall, it's a helping court to try to help them to get better with their mental illness and to understand their charges.
It sounds very comprehensive. You mentioned services, you mentioned a variety of different things. What is the underlying philosophy of the program? Mm-hmm. Why Mental Health Court? Mm-hmm.
Well, the main goal, as I mentioned, is mainly to start those services. A lot of people with mental illnesses, they don't do things. They may not do something on purpose that is going to cause them to
incur a charge, perhaps.
Yes.
So is it basically looking at their inability, perhaps, to make the best decision? Mm-hmm. Does it go even as far as not being able to determine right from wrong?
Right. Well, and in America, right, we all have that. It's part of our right to be in a fair trial. And you have somebody with a mental illness, mm-hmm. and compare that to someone who doesn't have a mental illness. It's not just for them to stand the same type of trial or for them to stand under the same circumstances. So Mental Health Court is created to help that individual get through the legal process and also to help them get better overall, because if that mental illness was in check or if that mental illness was better, they most likely would not have committed the crime that they did.
I see. So I think for the average listener, hearing the term mental health court and hearing just that brief description, they may conceive it as simply a get out of jail free card, but it sounds to me like it's a lot more than that.
Oh yes, absolutely. Most of our participants, all of our participants are asked if they would like to do mental health court in lieu of regular court proceedings. And the ones that do agree, some of them, a fair few, but some of them will say that mental health court is more challenging than just going to jail. It's harder because we have rules and there are things that they have to participate in. They have to go to their treatment, and whatever is recommended by the court the client has to do those things, to comply with mental health court. Now, the positive thing is that they're not sitting in a jail cell. We don't want them in the jail cell. The jails are not really an appropriate place for people who struggle with mental illness.
Exactly. A jail is not meant to treat mental illness.
Right.
It does achieve, obviously, a purpose, protects society, mm-hmm. and there is punishment, obviously. Mm-hmm. But it does sound like the program is a step out of jail and out of that surrounding, but also it sounds like there's another element to it, which is like a step up, yes. or a step forward, maybe is better mm-hmm. said. So what do you think was the prompting behind the mental health court? Where would this idea come from? Is this unique to this area, or where does it originate?
Well, the state of Florida has lots of mental health courts within all the counties, Indian River, and in our area, we have Indian River, Okeechobee, Martin County, and the St. Lucie County Mental Health Court. And the main thing is that we want to reduce recidivism rates. So someone who has a mental illness, if they're not receiving services because they cannot access services, maybe they're homeless, maybe they're indigent, they don't have funds, they don't have disability, Social Security disability, they have very limited access to mental health. And so what happens is they start to decomp in society, and they're not getting better. And then they may end up having a charge. So what we try to do is, if they went through a regular court system, went to jail, did their time, and were released, what have we done to help that person in the long run?
Probably nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
And maybe, perhaps, I guess that we've made it worse.
Right. Especially with trauma. A lot of people with mental illness have trauma past. And so having them in jail is very traumatic. So the main thing is, when they get out of jail, they're going to have services. We'll go into the jail sometimes and talk with them and see, do you want to come to mental health court? If so, we can supply you with housing if you need that. We can supply you with appointments. We can supply you with transportation to get there. We can even supply you with a case manager that can help you to go to Social Security and to start filing for a disability, to get your Medicaid,
Well, it sounds very
services.
extensive, but, backing up a little bit, you said we could go into the jails, but I'm sure you're not just showing up at the local jails looking for participants in the program. So how does someone diagnosed with a mental illness who finds himself facing criminal charges, how does that person enter your program? Would it be a recommendation, a referral? Tell us a little bit about how that works.
Yeah, so if the person is charged, there's so many different people that could make that recommendation. The police officers could make that recommendation upon the charge. The jails can make that recommendation. Let's say if the officer didn't recognize maybe that there's a mental illness going on, and they bring them to the jail, and while the person's in jail, the other staff in the jail are starting to notice something is going on, there's a suspicion of mental illness, they can make the recommendation. And also the judge, the first appearance judge, when that person goes to court to talk to the judge, they could also make that recommendation to then transfer that case into mental health court.
Oh, I see. So a variety of different ways that could lead a person into mental health court. So what is the duration of the program? You get the individual who perhaps diagnosed with a mental illness, there is a criminal charge, is referred to you, and what are some of the steps that they take immediately, and then how long are they with you? Okay,
so initially the first thing that happens is an assessment. We need to find out what mental illness is kind of going on. That usually is done in the jail by a psychologist, psychiatrist, and then that recommendation is sent to us. We also do our own assessment for their needs to see what services we can provide for them. And typically the program, it just depends. There's a lot that goes into it, whether it's a misdemeanor, a felony, if the person was deemed incompetent to proceed, or if they are not guilty by reason of insanity, then those are all different times. The minimum is 6 months, and there really isn't a maximum. It just kind of depends on the person's situation.
So it's individualized for each person.
Yes.
Okay. So you take, for example, a person that comes in and then they enter into the program, and they do so presumably willingly with full knowledge.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So you have to start there, and there has to be some willingness for cooperation. Is there a process of orientation or so orientation into the program, and then they're assigned to a case manager?
Yes. So what happens is when they, after they have their assessment, the staff at mental health court will talk with them to do their assessment to see if they really are appropriate for the program. And then if they are admitted into the program, they will be assigned a case manager either through mental health court directly or with another agency, with New Horizons, it just really depends on what their needs are. We also have welcome groups that they'll do. They come in and they do about, I believe it's 2 welcome groups where they are discussed with, they're explained all the rules. And it's like the third time they're explained all the rules. We go over with them every step of the way because we don't want them to forget what they need to do and why they're in the program.
And you want to ensure that they are understanding that there is an accountability.
Right.
That seems to be an underlying theme in the program. You have you're touching base with a variety of different staff, but the judge also seemingly has a role here that is significant in the success of the program for that person. Okay, so they are oriented, they attend groups. You mentioned the groups.
Yes.
And the groups are with other participants in the program.
Yes. So we do have a peer specialist on board, and that person takes a scan of the clients that are in mental health court and really kinds to see where they can fit in for our groups. If they need, if there's a substance abuse history, but they don't really have the time to go into an in-depth place for treatment, they can do a group with our peer specialists. We do prevention, relapse prevention. So we do have a variety of different groups that they can do, and he would really decide, and we all talk as a team to see if that person would be beneficial, would benefit from that group.
Excellent. Wow, it sounds like there are so many elements to this program, and then they all tie together to hopefully propel someone towards a successful future. Wonderful. That sounds like something certainly when I encountered mental health court for the first time and started to see what was really going on behind the scenes, I remember commenting, this is just another one of the hidden gems of New Horizons, because it does integrate so many different components of the community. You have so many different agencies cooperating in order to bring about the best outcome for someone. What are all the agencies that are involved, at least in St. Lucie County?
Well, New Horizons is a big one because we do our med management, we do therapy with our clients, substance abuse therapy. We also utilize ADAP, and they're really big for our substance abuse as well because they do more groups and more intensive in that portion. We have some people in partial hospitalization with Port St. Lucie Hospital. So it really just depends, again, on what they need. The biggest provider is going to be New Horizons just because we're such a huge organization that offers so many programs. So we're able to get them in with our provider and start their services almost immediately. If there's something that New Horizons doesn't offer, then we go ahead and reach out because our main thing is to make sure that our clients get the services that they need.
Oh, absolutely. So you referenced some of the other programs available, and one part that I haven't heard you mention before is where these individuals, the participants in the program, might be living. Are they just at home, or where are they?
We have a variety of different housings for our clients. Some of them can live independently, all on their own. It just depends on their housing situation. We do have a lot of people that are in housing providers. We have a few. We do participate with Planaseed in Fort Pierce, as well as Keith's House in Fort Pierce and Port St. Lucie. So sometimes they can live in the housing providers if necessary. Other times they may live on their own or they live with family.
Wow. Okay. Well, we are coming up to our first break here, and we will be back in just a moment talking more with Arlin Villari.
Are you a therapist or a nurse seeking the multi-state compact license? In the state of Florida, these and many other industries require a Level 2 live scan background check for clearance to work in your industry. A1A Fingerprints is your certified live scan source from Broward to Brevard. And if you're a medical provider, you need to be registered on the ACA web portal. A1A Fingerprints will help you navigate and comply with the law. Call 772-494-6556 or visit a1afingerprints.com. A1A Fingerprints.
For keeping your house pest and termite free, as well as your landscape healthy and green, call Compass Pest Control. Hi, this is Brian Combs, co-owner of Compass Pest Control. We are locally owned and operated with over 60 years of experience. We provide personalized, reliable service to all our clients. Call Compass at 772-925-1740 or visit our website, compasspest.com. That's Compass, PESTS.com.
With all the tasks we have to fit in a single day, it's no wonder many of us are not getting adequate sleep. And even if you get to bed at a decent hour, you may be among the millions who toss and turn all night struggling with insomnia. Eventually, the fatigue will take its toll on your mental health. A simple tip for helping induce sleep is lavender oil. Just spray lavender oil mixed with water on your pillow, or put a few drops of lavender oil in your bath water, or even drink a cup of lavender tea before drifting off into blissful slumber. It's amazing how awesome you feel after a good night's sleep. To learn more about improving your mental health, contact New Horizons 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 772-468-5600 or visit newhorizonstreasurecoastinc.org.
It's time to call Easy Brew Coffee and Bottled Water Service and learn just how much you can save and how convenient it is to have your coffee and bottled water delivered right to your home or office. In addition to water coolers, Easy Brew offers individual bottles of water in 8 or 16-ounce bottles. No more lugging it home or dragging it into the office. Serving the Treasure Coast for over 2 decades, 2 letters, 1 simple name. Easy for Easy Brew. Visit e-zbrew.com or call 800-792-3285. Easy Brew.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters. Ann Lotirzo sitting in today for Lisa Reimer. We're continuing our discussion today with Arlin Villari, who oversees the Mental Health Court program of St. Lucie County. Welcome back. Arlene, right before the break, we did start discussing a little bit about the housing situation for the participants in the Mental Health Court program. So you mentioned there's a variety of different areas that someone could live, of course, in this area, presuming. And then what are some of the arrangements that that you're able to make for individuals who maybe need housing?
So if somebody requires housing, we do speak when they come out of jail, they come straight to court, and the whole team decides what housing provider would be really appropriate for that individual, if they need more structure or if they are able to be a little bit more independent, if they require an ALF. So we discuss all of those things. And we actually include the housing providers within the staffing.
Within the team.
Yes.
So your housing providers are part of your team.
Yes.
That helps to collaborate and make decisions.
Yes. Well, and a lot of things happen in the homes, and so when you have somebody living in a house with the housing provider, the provider really gives us a lot of insight on what's happening in the home. The client may say, everything is great, I'm doing well, but the housing provider may notice that the person is maybe sleeping more during the day, isolating themselves, not participating in groups or chores and things like that, and they'll notify us. And then if that person does have a case manager, we can send the case manager out and say, hey, something's going on. So it gives us an extra help in making sure the person remains stable. But also it gives us an extra help because we're able to work with the housing provider and to see if that person requires maybe additional services or what else is going on, with the client, that the client may be too nervous or too afraid to tell us, particularly when it comes with the court. They don't want to get in trouble with things. So sometimes they are afraid to talk to us. But the biggest thing with mental health court is that we're a helping court. So if somebody does have an issue, we all come together as a team, including the housing providers, to discuss what we can do to help that person.
Wow, it sounds as though the multi-layered approach with the team working together is really key, really significant. And what, though, Arlene, is there anything, you've been with the program and you've identified with the program for a long time. Am I right? You did your internship with Mental Health Court. So if you could dream for Mental Health Court, what would that dream look like?
Well, definitely treatment. I'd love to increase treatment because, in the state of Florida, we don't have much of that, unfortunately. Partial hospitalizations or intensive outpatient services, there aren't many out there. So I would love to create a big intensive outpatient service so that our clients can do that, can go there and participate in groups and learn more about their mental illness. The other thing is housing. We don't have a lot of housing options, and so it does make it difficult. It can be strenuous on our housing providers as well. And sometimes there's that person that just doesn't fit in with their program, and so we have to brainstorm and think about where we can put that person to help that person to be able to also have some independence. So all of those things, I would buy a big hotel and and house people there. And
I did say dream. So no limitations here. So so housing and treatment are key in helping this program stay successful.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so that's maybe something for the future. Now, in terms of community and community relations, the average person who's a member of the Treasure Coast community who wonders about mental health court and why is that a benefit for me as the average, citizen. Talk to us a little bit about that. Why do you see that as so significant and making that, communication to those citizens?
Well, taxes, right? As our we have to pay for the jails, and that's a very big thing that a lot of people talk about. It's money, the taxes. And when we are treating a mental illness, and that mental illness is the reason the person got the charge to begin with, what happens is that person's able to better make decisions because that mental illness is not in the way of making those decisions for them, so to speak. So once they go through our program and they continue and to maintain their treatment, the recidivism rate for them to commit a crime drops tremendously. So for an outsider, seeing somebody in a mental health court program, you can know that person is receiving treatment. There's that big stigma with mental health, but I think what a lot of people don't realize or take for granted is that some people cannot help themselves. It's not a choice they made. It's part of who they are, and it's about learning to cope with that mental illness and learning to be able to be better in society for themselves too. They want to live independently and they want to work. And we have a lot of people in the program that do work. We have a lot of people that do community service or volunteer. So they're out there helping in the community instead of just being in jail and not getting the treatment or the help that they get. And when they have their time served, they're back on the street.
So for anyone doubting the significance and the importance of this program or the relevance to the average citizen, you're pointing out they're now working instead of sitting in jail. They are actually getting better. They are taking steps towards mental wellness.
Yes,
and hopefully, as you pointed out earlier, learning about their illness and how to better manage those symptoms. And I suspect living in the group environments, as some of them do, learning how to coordinate better with, socially with peers. So wonderful. So many tangible benefits. So certainly if someone had any questions, any of our listeners or viewers today had any questions about mental health court, you'd be our expert. Tell us, how could they get in touch with you if someone had a question or perhaps needs to make a referral to you for a mental health court participant? Give us a phone number or an email so that someone could reach out if they needed to.
Sure. So the best number would be the office, and of course, I'm often running around and and trying to oversee everything that's going on. So, but you can definitely leave me a message as well if I don't answer. But the number is 772-337-5682.
Okay.
And email is always good as well, and that's just at avallari@nhtcinc.org.
Wonderful. Well, Arlene, this certainly has been an eye-opening day today because you've given us the insider's view of mental health court, and it certainly is, as I mentioned earlier, I think one of the hidden gems of New Horizons, of which there are so many. Yeah. Just one of very many dynamic programs at New Horizons where people are served on a day-in, day basis, regardless of their ability to pay, all across the counties of the Treasure Coast and Okeechobee. So that's including Indian River, Martin, St. Lucie, and as I mentioned, the Okeechobee. So mental health court there to hopefully lend people a way out of jail and onto a better life and a better future. Certainly very eye-opening. And certainly anyone with any questions is free to contact Arlene. Give us that number again.
772-337-5682.
And Arlene will be available, answer your questions. And we thank you so much for joining us today on Mental Health Matters.